I didn't mind everyone else's business, but somehow this someone always finds my fault. If peace was a currency, I would have been rich. I wasn't the kind to gossip, interfere, or cause drama. I came to work, did my job, and went home. Simple. No mess, no conflict. That was my motto. Unfortunately, not everyone at the office believed in that same philosophy. Some people seemed to thrive on chaos, and none more than Tara, the self-appointed queen of perfection. When I joined the company 3 years ago, I quickly became known as the dependable one. If something needed to be done quietly and correctly, I was the go-to person. I didn't crave attention, and I certainly didn't try to compete. But to Tara, that was apparently suspicious. She was one of those people who believed everything had to orbit around her. Meetings, conversations, even compliments. She dressed like she was auditioning for a fashion blog, talked loudly enough to fill the entire floor, and somehow always managed to insert herself into any discussion, even when it wasn't remotely her business. At first, we got along fine. I was polite, kept my distance, but that didn't last long. The first hint of trouble came when she started correcting me during team meetings. "Actually, I think you missed a step in your report," she'd say, flipping her hair while giving me a sweet smile that fooled everyone except me. The worst part? She was wrong. Most of the time. But the way she phrased it made her sound helpful, like she was just trying to assist me. The manager would glance at me as if waiting for me to defend myself, and I'd simply nod and say, "Thanks for pointing it out, Tara." Because arguing would have made me look defensive, and I hated unnecessary drama. But that politeness became her invitation to walk all over me. It got worse over time. Every week, there was something new. If the printer jammed, she'd sigh loudly and say, "Not again. I think Mia was using it last." If the coffee pot was empty, she'd chirp, "Mia's probably the last one who had some. She always forgets to refill." If a client didn't respond, she'd murmur in passing, "Maybe your tone in the email was too formal. Some clients like it casual." I wasn't angry. Not at first, just confused. I didn't even talk to her much, and yet somehow she found my faults in everything. But Tara was clever. She always made it seem like harmless feedback. When others laughed about it, she'd say, "Oh, come on, it's just teasing. Don't be so serious." And I would smile and let it slide. Every single time. What I didn't realize then was that she wasn't just picking at me for fun. She was building a reputation. At my expense. It all came crashing down the week our department prepared for a major client presentation. Our manager, Jason, assigned tasks to each of us. My job was to finalize the proposal slides. Tara was supposed to handle the summary report. 2 nights before the presentation, I stayed late to polish the slides, ensuring every detail was perfect. When I left, everything was saved and backed up. The next morning, the slides were a mess. Half the data was missing, formatting destroyed. I opened the folder only to find multiple versions, all overwritten at 2 a.m. And whose name was in the last modified by field? Tara's. I immediately called her. "Tara, did you edit my presentation last night?" She laughed. "Yeah, I just did some improvements. You missed a few things." My heart dropped. "You changed half the content. You replaced data I verified yesterday." "Oh, relax," she said breezily. "I was just trying to help." When we presented the slides, the client pointed out several glaring errors. Tara immediately piped up, "I think Mia must have mixed up some numbers. I noticed it this morning, but didn't have time to fix it." Jason gave me a disappointed look, and my stomach turned. I wanted to speak up, to expose her, but that would have made it look like I was deflecting blame, so I stayed quiet. That incident changed everything. Suddenly, people treated me differently. Not rudely, just cautiously. Like I wasn't as reliable as they thought. The whispers were subtle, but I could hear them. I thought Mia was the perfectionist type. Guess not. Tara said she's been slipping lately. And the worst one, overheard in the break room, maybe she's not as nice as she looks. I started dreading going to work. Every time I saw Tara's bright red nails typing away at her desk, I felt a surge of quiet anger. She had this smug way of looking at me, as if daring me to say something. But I didn't. I waited. Because while she thought she was clever, I was learning, watching, planning. A few months later, the company announced a new initiative, an internal mentorship program for career growth. Senior employees could apply to become mentors, and successful mentors would get bonuses and higher visibility with upper management. Tara jumped on it immediately. "Oh, this is perfect for me," she said loudly one morning. "I love helping people grow." Jason smiled approvingly. "That's the spirit we need." She turned to me and smirked. "You should apply too, Mia, but mentoring might not be your thing. You're more task-oriented." I smiled back. "You're right. I prefer results over speeches." She laughed, assuming I was joking. I wasn't. Over the next weeks, Tara poured her energy into impressing everyone. She volunteered for everything, joined planning committees, even started staying late, mostly to make sure people saw her working late. Then came the kicker. The company announced that mentors would need to submit a detailed progress report of their mentees' performance, complete with documented communications and review notes. It was a lot of paperwork. And paperwork was Tara's weakness. She loved talking, not writing. Details bored her. I, on the other hand, lived for organization. So when she started asking me for little favors like helping format or proofreading her reports, I agreed, with a smile. It started small. When she sent me her first batch of reports, I noticed she'd exaggerated her mentees' progress. She claimed to have conducted 6 sessions when she'd only done 2. I didn't touch the false parts. I simply highlighted a few grammatical errors and sent it back, saying, "Looks good now." She trusted me completely. Over the next month, she gave me every report to review before submitting. Each one was full of half-truths, fake data, and exaggerated feedback. The kind of thing that could get her fired if someone checked. And someone would. You see, I'd learned that upper management randomly audited mentor files before issuing bonuses. If discrepancies were found, the employee would lose not only the bonus, but also eligibility for promotion. So one quiet Friday evening, after everyone had gone home, I compiled all the unedited drafts she'd sent me, full of lies, and placed them in a folder labeled Mentorship Drafts Review Copy. Then I left them in the shared folder that management accessed for audits. I didn't add anything. I didn't delete anything. I just let her own words do the work. 2 weeks later, everything exploded. I came in Monday morning to find Tara sitting at her desk, pale as paper, eyes red from crying. Her mentor profile had been flagged for inconsistencies. Apparently, management had cross-checked her reports with her mentees, and the numbers didn't add up. The mentees confirmed they'd only met twice, not 6 times, and some feedback quotes she'd submitted were completely fabricated. Jason called her into his office, and the conversation lasted nearly an hour. When she came out, her face was stiff, her pride shattered. People whispered, of course. She lied on her reports? That's serious. Guess she's not the office saint after all. The same mouths that once echoed her gossip were now repeating her downfall. Later that day, she came to me. "Did you say something?" she asked, voice trembling. I looked up from my desk. "About what?" "My reports. Someone must have." I shrugged. "I wouldn't know. I mind my own business." Her lips trembled, and for the first time in years, she had no comeback. Tara wasn't fired, but she lost her mentorship role and her eligibility for bonuses for a full year. Her perfect reputation crumbled, and her confidence vanished. The same coworkers who used to hang on to her every word now kept their distance, afraid of being associated with her. She stopped criticizing me after that. In fact, she barely spoke to me. When she did, it was soft, polite, careful. As for me, I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I simply went back to my quiet routine. Coming to work became peaceful again. No whispers, no fake smiles, no pointed fingers, just silence. The kind I'd always wanted. And that's when I realized something. You don't always need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes you just need to hand people the matches and let them light themselves up. A year later, I was promoted to team lead. During my first meeting, Jason said, "You've always been steady, Mia. Never in other people's business, but always getting things done right." I smiled. If only he knew how close I'd come to losing that calm, and how satisfying it felt to regain it through patience. Tara still worked there, in a lower position now, quieter, humbled. Occasionally, I'd catch her glancing at me, not with hate, but with something else. Maybe guilt, maybe regret. But that wasn't my problem anymore, because I'd finally learned, when you mind your own business and someone keeps finding your faults, don't argue. Just wait. Life has a funny way of correcting people like that. Like and subscribe. Share if this happened to you or someone you know.